Hi there, Blainsport. I hope everyone's doing well. I know this is an unusual few weeks for us. Some of you may be at home. Some of you are chancing things and going out. Others need to go out. So I hope you're doing well wherever you are. Wanted to remind everyone of the cancellations that we have. This Sunday, we do not have services at Blainsport, nor do we have services next Sunday. And part of those cancellations, of course, would be our congregational meeting this Sunday. That's going to have to be rescheduled. And the following Sunday is baptism, and we're going to have to reschedule that as well. In this time of uncertainty and crisis, the community churches here in Reinholds are calling for a time of prayer, asking that congregations would join with one another in prayer through this week, asking God to make sure that we're safe and that He brings healing to those who are affected by this virus. This COVID-19 is a very serious virus. That's why we're responding so seriously. And the best way is to respond with prayer, asking God to do what we cannot do, what the doctors cannot do, what everyone is looking around to try to do, only God can do. And so we want to call on Him. I think it's kind of interesting. This pandemic is worldwide. I had to think, is this God causing us to slow down? Did He allow this to take place so that we have to just take a time out? Many of us are running at full speed all of the time. And we've gotten so accustomed to relying on ourselves. And is this God saying, you're not in control? You need to take a step back for a moment. And maybe as believers, we need to rely on God more. And for those who don't know Jesus yet, maybe this is a call to awaken and come to faith. But I believe it's something like a slowdown that God is causing. And maybe even telling us, in your weakness, where does your strength come from? Can you really rely on yourselves, or do you need somebody who's bigger? And I think if you're a follower of Christ, you'd say, yeah, I know I need somebody who's bigger, because what we're doing right now isn't happening. It's not making things go. And so maybe during this time, you've heard the terms by the governor saying there are essential businesses and non-essential businesses. And maybe it's a wake-up call for some of us to realize a number of us are in non-essential businesses. And some of the things that we're doing is non-essential, yet we treat it like it's everything. And maybe we need to rearrange our schedules, rearrange our priorities. And I'm praying that as we come through this, that our lives, especially those of us who are following Jesus, will change, that maybe we'll reorganize, reprioritize the things in our lives. And of course, I'm praying for those who don't know Jesus, that they can really place their hope in something that is solid, something that is greater than what we make up on our own, but that they can turn to Jesus and find real life. During my devotional readings, I'm in the book of Romans right now. And just recently, I read from Romans 8, 26 through 28, and I want to read that for you now. Romans 8, 26 through 28. Likewise, the Spirit helps us in our weakness, for we do not know what to pray for as we ought. But the Spirit Himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words. And He who searches hearts knows what is the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for the saints according to the will of God. And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to His purpose. And as I reflected on that, as I thought about that, I had to think, here we're told it's the Spirit who helps us in our times of weakness. Don't we see it right now, how weak we really are, how insufficient we are to meet our very own needs? And it's the Spirit who comes to help us in our time of weakness. And then we go on here and we see that he's the one who intercedes with groanings when we don't know how to pray. when we don't even know what to ask for. God, we're confused during this time. The Spirit, He knows exactly what to pray for. And He hears us. He hears us and He expresses to God in a language that we don't even fully comprehend and understand. He expresses to God our deepest needs in our weakness. He's interceding for us. And then verse 28 is of course such a famous verse, a familiar verse to many who are followers of Jesus. But this whole idea that God works all things together, whether it's good or bad, He works all things together for the good of those who love Him. And I'm convinced of that now more than ever. While I don't understand what's going on around us, I kind of question at times, God, where's the wisdom in a virus like this that's taking lives? I mean, it's a very serious thing. Yet I know that God has a purpose and a plan in this, and He's going to work out my best, your best, through all of this. And I don't know what that is, but He does. And I want to trust Him during this time. And I hope you can trust Him too. I mean, we can allow our fears and anxieties to take over right now. We can keep listening to the news and be sitting on the edge of our chairs saying, oh God, what next? Or we can say, God, we don't know what is next, but we trust You completely. You know what You're doing. You have Your hands on this, and Your hands are on our lives. God, we trust You through this time. So I just want to encourage you during this time to keep your eyes on Jesus. Keep trusting in Him. Put your full confidence in Him. He's worthy of your faith, of your confidence during this time. Well, I look forward to seeing you later on in this week. I'm hoping to bring some abbreviated message to you for Sunday from our studies in Hebrews. And this week, we're in Hebrews 11, which talks about faith. And I just think it's an appropriate passage for us. Maybe even in the meantime, you can be reading those verses. There's 40 verses there. You can be reading all of chapter 11, thinking about how God has worked in the lives of the saints. And He's going to continue to work in the lives of us, even today. So until I see you next time, may God bless you and keep you and make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. And I do hope that during this time, it is a time of slow down and reprioritizing the things in your life. I'll see you later.